Sorry, guys.
Join us.
I was just getting ready to call you.
Yes, the small potatoes.
Battle positions.
While you're getting set up, everybody turn your microphones
Mike's
on.
on.
Are we ready to go? Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for December 9th, 2025 for the Village of Los Ranchos de Albuquerque. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Let the record show it is 6:02. All right, we'll do a call to order first. Roll call. Let's see, Commissioner Barrow.
Here.
Commissioner Baldwin.
Here.
Commissioner Martinez.
Here.
Commissioner Tagliapetra.
Present.
Commissioner Edward.
Here.
Commissioner Haywood.
Yeah.
And Commissioner Homan is here. So we are in total, everybody is here.
Total here-ness.
That's right. So let's go on to the approval of the agenda. Has everybody had an opportunity to look at it? Are there any updates, changes from anybody?
Madam Chair, I have no changes to the agenda this evening.
Okay,
I move we approve the agenda as offered.
Well, second.
it's been moved and seconded, and this is a roll call vote again. Commissioner Barrow.
Yes.
Commissioner Baldwin.
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez.
Yes.
Commissioner Tagliapetra.
Yes.
Commissioner Edward.
Yep.
Commissioner Haywood.
Yes.
And Commissioner Homan, yes. So let the record show that was unanimous approval. And we'll go on to the public comment period. Residents may address the Planning and Zoning Commission to comment on issues, problems, or successes on topics that do not appear elsewhere on our agenda. Audience members will be given the opportunity to comment on agenda items as they come up. Speakers must register with the village staff prior to the beginning of the meeting. There were sign-up sheets out in the lobby, and I've got them now, but you could go back and get on the list. And when it's time to be sworn in, please stand. So with that, I'm looking at the public comment sign-up, and I have nobody. Is there anybody that didn't have an opportunity to sign up that wishes to make a public comment? Seeing and hearing nobody, we'll go on. We'll go on to the consent agenda. So all matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless it is requested to be withdrawn from the consent agenda, and we will discuss them individually. So the only item we have before us on the consent agenda is the November 12th meeting minutes from the regular Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. So has everybody taken a look at the minutes? Are there any modifications, updates?
Madam Chair, I have a couple of changes I'd like to propose to the minutes for the commission, if that's all right.
Please address us.
On page 10 of your packet, on line 42, there needs to be a comma added. Let me get to my, oops, is that not the right?
Page 9, I believe.
Thank you. Page 9, line 42. There needs to be a comma added between the words municipal and open. It currently reads that Commissioner Haywood moved to add a finding that the commission recommends that the Board of Trustees add a specific zone or zones for the municipal, open space, and park uses to the code. Without that comma, it reads right now as municipal open space, and it needs to read municipal, comma, open space, and park use. So that's a very technical matter. That would be my first request. My second change is on page 10, line 23. This relates to the wording of the final motion for the item. I would propose a rewrite that would acknowledge that that item was amended and that findings were added, and so I'm gonna propose the rewrite. It would read, the original main motion, Commissioner Haywood moved to approve TA-25-02 as amended, as outlined in the staff report, and subject to the amended findings discussed and voted upon. This acknowledges that the item was amended substantively and that the findings were amended, which this motion does not currently reflect. That would be my second change. And then third, on page 11, line 44, this is going to be very similar to the previous one. I would propose rewriting that to say original main motion to approve TA-25-03 as amended, as outlined in the staff report and subject to the amended findings as approved. If this commission is comfortable with that, I think you could make a motion to make those changes as the planning director read them into the record.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, once again, a roll call vote. Commissioner Barrow?
No vote.
Okay, Commissioner Baldwin?
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez?
Yes.
Commissioner Tagliapietra?
Yes.
Commissioner Edward?
Yep.
Commissioner Haywood?
Yes.
And I recuse myself because I wasn't here. So let the record show that the motion has passed. Five approves and 2 are recusing. Are there any other corrections to be submitted? Okay. With that, can we have a motion? Well, did your motion cover? No. Let's do a motion, a motion to accept as amended in its entirety.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. That was Commissioner Baldwin and Commissioner Martinez. This is roll call once again. Commissioner Barrow,
Recuse.
Commissioner Baldwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez.
Yes.
Commissioner Tagliapietra,
Yes.
Commissioner Edward,
Yep.
Commissioner Haywood,
Yes.
and Commissioner Homan recuse again. Once again, the 2 of us were not present at that meeting, so let the record show that there are 5 voting in approval, 2 recuse, and the motion carries. With that, we'll go on. Our first public hearing, before we get started, Mr. Chappell. If you plan on speaking to any of the issues, the 3 public hearings and applications we have before us tonight, please stand and be sworn in.
Yes, so everyone that plans to speak tonight on anything should be sworn in. Do you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury? I do. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chappell. So the first public hearing is V2505, which is Randy Case, agent for Mark and Sherry Cordova Trust, requests a variance of 1 foot to an 8-foot high limitation for gate entrance pillars at the property located at 7100 Rio Grande Boulevard Northwest. This is a quasi-judicial matter. Shauna, would you please give us a report?
Madam Chair, I'll defer to Commissioner Baldwin, who seems to have a question.
Commissioner Baldwin?
Madam Chair, given that this issue may very well come before the Board of Trustees as variance requests are appealable, I plan to recuse on this particular event to avoid any perception of a conflict of interest by hearing this tonight and then also by hearing it as a trustee.
Thank you. Commissioner Edward, are you doing the same?
One way or the other, my voice will be heard, so I guess it's a question of recusing myself now or later. I guess I'll recuse myself now.
Okay, let the record show that both Commissioners Baldwin and Edward are recusing themselves from this matter.
Okay, excuse me, Madam Chair, if they recuse themselves, they should be leaving the room and not participate in any aspect of the hearing.
Okay, they have to leave the room, not just,
They're supposed to leave the room.
But Michelle, could you
that's-
please get them set up in the conference room?
That has been just policy in the past. As of January 1, it will be by statute that enacts that.
thank you for updating us on that matter. Director Schultz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The present case before you is VA 25-05, a request for the property at 7100 Rio Grande Boulevard for a 1-foot variance to the maximum 8-foot allowance for gate entrance pillars. By way of background, the department became aware of these overheight pillars earlier this year when the gate and the pilasters were constructed without a permit. Enforcement began in September. And over the following weeks, the department worked with both the agent and the property owner and their representatives to obtain the necessary applications A completed variance application was received by the department on October 22nd. Your review on this item tonight is guided by the variance criteria in section 9.2.25. These criteria require that the applicant demonstrate three things. One, that the request is consistent with the goals and policies of the village master plan, and that it is not contrary to the public interest or the character of the village, and that it is there is a legitimate property-based hardship that exists such that literal enforcement of the code would be unnecessarily burdensome. After reviewing the application, staff has found that these criterion have not been met. First, the request is not in conformance with the master plan. The village's adopted policies emphasize the preservation of rural character, modest and low-profile frontage treatments, and consistency in how development standards are applied. The 9-foot pilasters introduce a more monumental entry feature that conflicts with these goals in staff's opinion. Second, staff finds the request to be contrary to the public interest. Oversized or visually prominent entrance features along Rio Grande Boulevard run counter to the community's desired character and to the long-standing efforts of the village to maintain a cohesive, low-scale frontage pattern. And third, no qualifying hardship has been demonstrated. There are no topographic, physical, or configuration-based conditions on this property that prevents compliance with the 8-foot rule. The overheight pillars are the result of a design choice that were constructed without a permit, making the condition self-imposed. Under the ordinance, a self-created condition cannot serve as the basis for a variance. The applicant referred in their justification letter to other relevant factors to justify their request, but the reasons provided, such as preferred aesthetics, accommodations for delivery trucks, and comparisons to other gates in the surrounding area, do not meet the threshold for hardship and do not relate to public interest considerations of village character as required by the variance criteria. For these reasons, as detailed in the staff report, staff is recommending denial of this request. If the commission chooses to deny this request, staff will require that the pillars have to be cut down a foot to be compliant with the code. And as referenced in the staff reports, we will give them until about mid-February to do that. It is the purview of this commission to go opposite of staff's recommendations, so you do have the ability to approve this variance if you so choose, but the findings in the staff report do support denial. With that, I will stand for any questions.
Okay. Does the commission have any questions of the director? Commissioner Martinez.
One of the concerns is that Rio Grande Avenue is probably one of the main factors other than 4th Street. And as you drive by and down it, you see the overburden of gateways as you progress down. My question is, in doing what we have to do tonight, how is that going to affect the ability for the village to try to get back to allowing the rest of Rio Grande Avenue to adapt and to follow the rules and regulations that we're trying to put on these people?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Martinez, variance requests are considered independently of any other decision. In fact, in the variance section, it talks about any decision made on a variance cannot influence future decisions made on variances. So we are really narrowly looking at the property and the conditions of this property. So to answer your question, I don't think that your decision tonight has any impact on what might come forward to the village in the future. We would need to look at those on a property by property basis and look at the conditions of those properties with their any future variance applications.
And I'm going to reverse. What is going to existingly happen to the many oversized gateways that are existing today?
I see.
That's my question, is because as I drive down with the setbacks that's required, with the beauty of what they create there, in my eyes, it doesn't make that much of a damaging look because of the setbacks and the height and the Rio Grande overlookingness of it. So what we already have is we already have a flow of other people that aren't complying. So I guess my question is, if we're going to force these people to, what is the village going to have to kind of compromise to where if one has to do it, what about the other 5?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Martinez, we don't know that any of those other gates are out of compliance. They could have received approved variances that allow for a taller height. I have not checked the height of any gates in the surrounding area around this property. If there are properties that are out of compliance with village code, we take code enforcement action on those, typically on a complaint basis, and the village has not received complaints about any other gates along Rio Grande, but we would pursue enforcement action just like we would on any property that's not within compliance.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, can we hear from the applicant, Mr. Case? Or Ms. Case, yes, if you will go to the microphone, provide your name and address, please.
Thank you. We are Mark and Sherry Cordova, the property owners. Mr. Case is a project manager for us, but since this pertains to our personal home and we were available, we thought we would come and be heard today. We appreciate your time. I would direct the commissioners to the plans that we set in so you can see sort of a drawing of what the gates that we're talking about look like. And I suspect that probably you've driven past them as well and have seen them. My name is Sherry Cordova, and this is my husband, Mark. We are the owners of 7100 Rio Grande. We purchased the property in late September of 2024, and we are seeking a variance which would allow the gates as built to remain on the premises. We come to you today hat in hand as construction of the gates did occur without having obtained a permit in advance and are seeking to remedy that first with this, with the first step being to seek this variance. For what it's worth, I want to assure you that we were in no way trying to hide the ball from the village. On the contrary, this construction was very much out in the open, being right there on Rio Grande. And with respect to other construction that has occurred on the property, even well before the work on the gates began, there was a very deep pool in the back of the house, you know, outside of sight and so forth, that we wanted to get rid of because it was a safety concern for us and not something we had visioned for the future of the property. So we got a demolition permit to have that addressed. So we understand the process of getting a permit. I think with respect to the fence and the gates, the situation was that the existing fence and gates were collapsing because the concrete foundations were just crumbling. And so, you know, we kind of viewed it as a fence repair, which ended up being just constructing a new fence. With respect to, and also the demo of the existing house has now begun, and we obtained a permit for that and are doing that pursuant to a permit. And we're in the final stages. We just got the final edits to the plans for the new home that will be constructed on the property for our own personal use, and expect to be ready to submit those for permitting probably after the first of the year. We were hoping before the end of the year, but it's sounding from the architects like it'll be right after the first of the year. So, you know, again, with respect to the gates having been constructed, you know, it was a matter of kind of repairing what was there. We actually hosted our daughter's wedding on the property in October, and I think in part Dad was in a hurry to make sure that people weren't driving up to a dilapidated and kind of cattywampus gates on the property. It might be helpful for the commission to understand sort of our overall plan for the property. We are designing and building our family home, and we intend to live there with our adult son, John, and have it be a generational home for our family. After we purchased it, in fact, we received offers from multiple parties wanting to buy it from us so that they could subdivide it and build multiple homes there, as we've seen happening along Rio Grande with other properties. That is not our desire for the property. We want to preserve it. We want to preserve what we find to be special about the classic Rio Grande facing property, with the setback of the grand home, the massive green fields up front. You may have seen that whereas after Mrs. Caldwell's death, all of the green grass and such that had been in the front was allowed to die. We've gotten all of that growing again. We're keeping it mowed. I did see an email response from somebody objecting to the petition who indicated that there are weeds out in front of the property. I can assure you that's not the case. There were when we bought it. There are not anymore. We've been working diligently to clean up the property and bring it back to the grandeur that it once enjoyed. And we're even going to be reintroducing horses to the property. I know that years ago, when Mark first fell in love with the property because he re-roofed it for Mrs. Caldwell, back in the day, one of the things he loved about driving by there was seeing those horses right along Rio Grande, and that's our vision for the future of the property as well. That said, the gate structure, and there are two on this property because there are actually two entrances from Rio Grande, do require a variance from the village from the existing ordinance standards. And the variance would bring it in compliance with the drawings that we've submitted from the architect. So we would want the variance to allow the gates to be consistent with that. Just for what it's worth, the fence does not require a variance. It is below the fence requirements, and it is an open slatted fence consistent with what you see in horse properties really around the nation, not just in New Mexico. With respect to the aesthetics and remaining consistent, let me get the language here. My apologies here. As far as being in conformance with the goals and policies of the village master plan, I would submit that the gates do preserve the rural and agricultural character, and that with the overall fence profile being as low as it is, with the amount in excess of the existing ordinance not being a significant change, I would submit not a material change. I don't think it does interfere with that kind of wide open look at all. And I think also the fact that the gates are on the northernmost and southernmost corners of the property, that center area is still all wide open to the home and the barn and so forth behind it. So there's no interruption of kind of the view that we want to see when we drive down Rio Grande. In addition, as far as consistency with the other properties, as we were considering how to design the gates for the property, in addition to kind of want to keep that grand horse property type feel on Rio Grande. There are few properties that surround us where there are just, naked pilasters. All of them almost have some sort of a pilaster with a wall that accompanies it and so forth. In a lot of respects, I think ours is almost more wide open than that. The other thing that we did that I think takes away from this idea that it's somehow overly imposing is that the gates are moved back substantially from where the Caldwells had them. So where the Caldwells had the gates, and there were existing gates there, when you were driving off of Rio Grande, like with a truck and a horse trailer, which is contemplated to happen on Rio Grande, especially for a property like that with barns, when you would turn in, as you waited for the gate to open or had to get out to open the gate, the trailer would actually still be on Rio Grande. We have now moved it back 39 feet from Rio Grande, so a truck and a trailer can fully pull in. It also, I think, by setting it back, takes away the sort of imposition of the height. The further something is away from you, the smaller it looks, if you will. And I think another factor is that the fact that there is a variance process available to homeowners. When we talk about a burden being placed on homeowners, I would submit that a property owner's right to design the home that they want with the property that they own is a significant factor. And when you place a burden on a homeowner, but to not allow them to do that where the integrity of the village is otherwise maintained, I think that is a burden that cannot be dismissed. The fact that the village has a variance process contemplates that variances would be allowed from time to time. And indeed, perhaps the fact that there are so many other properties that have, quote unquote, monumental type entries, which I don't necessarily agree with that characterization, but perhaps that is evidence that such variances have been granted by the village in the past, and I would submit should be again. And finally, we do wish to be good neighbors, and we have been in discussions with our neighbors, and in fact, Mark walked around a letter talking with the neighbor, or explaining to the neighbors that we would be doing this and asking how they felt about the gates as they're constructed and whether they had an objection to that. So we went to all of our neighboring property owners, and we actually got a letter signed. We left the house today without it. So I don't know if the record can remain open, but we could submit that to you. But Bronson Duran, who is our neighbor immediately to the south, signed off on it. Representative Diane Hoke Vigil also signed off on it. Randy Briggs said that he would sign off on it. We haven't been able to connect with him to allow him to do that. And Ms. Nieto is the only one who said she just would rather not get involved. But everybody that we have spoken to, all of our neighbors and people that live in the village that have driven by, have expressed gratitude for the fact that we have taken so much effort, even before we started construction of the house, to clean up the grounds and get the plants growing again, and things of that nature. So is there anything, Mark, that I missed that you wanted to
No.
bring in?
I think you got it. I think the main thing is that we have taken the measures to keep the property clean, and we are consistently going out and mowing it, keeping it clean, making sure that no debris is going on, even in our neighbors' properties. We're even when we're cleaning up and painting the stalls around the back, we have water trucks out there just keeping that dust down, just to keep the dust from going out on our neighbors. So we are here to work with whoever and however we need to, and apologize for not getting a permit. Again, that was my doing, but thank you.
Do you have any questions for us? We'd be
Yes,
happy to.
yes, we do. I'll start with a couple of the questions and then turn it over to my fellow commissioners. The plans that are in our packet, the ones that you showed, are the dimensions accurate?
I just asked Mark about that today, because as I was looking at it in preparation, it was a little bit inconsistent with what we initially said in the letter. The gate itself, you went and measured it today, is
9'6".
9 feet 6. So right now, we don't yet have, our intention will be eventually, subject to permit approval and so forth, to put a concrete drive in there, which could raise the elevation of the ground by about 6 inches. So we're gonna be right in that range. So there is that
The
clarification.
pilaster posts,
Same thing, it's gonna bring up our ground. So I lifted everything up a little bit higher, so when we built the apron to drive into the property, we're gonna raise it up. We're pouring enough concrete, so when we do have trucks driving on it, it's not gonna be cracking our concrete later. And that's, so I did lift it up a little bit higher, just so I can get that concrete apron installed.
yeah, because the record on the pilasters show 10'2" height on those, not just 9 feet, but
Right.
10'2", which is obviously over 2 feet variance.
Well, again, we hadn't done any of the dirt work. When those measurements were done, we had already taken out a bunch of dirt, but we brought a bunch of base course back in to lift that property up. So right now, the gates are right at 9'6", or 10 feet, I'm sorry, 10 feet. And once I build the pad and with the concrete, it's gonna raise it up another 6 inches, the driveway.
All right. Commissioners, other questions?
First of all, I want to say I know that property. I grew up fancying myself a horsewoman. So I want to compliment you on what you've been doing. I've been watching it both from the Sequia in the back and seeing your horse corrals, and what you're doing along Rio Grande. I want to ask you 2 specific questions, though. First of all, are either of you licensed contractors
I am a licensed contractor, yes, ma'am.
in New Mexico generally? Okay.
3398.
Okay, well, that definitely gives me some pause here. My heart says I'm very happy with what you're doing. As a commissioner, I might have to vote against my heart. So we'll see how it comes out. There may be other better questions.
I want to kind of just bounce off what she says. I think that Rio Grande Avenue is, as I defined earlier, is a heartbeat in a different way than 4th Street is. And I think that everybody's going to give you pats on your back for everything that you're doing. When you get to this side of the fence over here, as you define what we're doing over here, our job is to be like a judge. As she's defining, our heart doesn't have to fall into it. What we have to do is work on the facts. And when I was hearing you, I appreciated everything you said, but you never made any mention to the 3 factors that she needed to really get answered. And again, it really falls to us. I'm like her. My heart is with you guys. I think that Rio Grande Avenue allows that capability because of the setback, everything that you're talking about. The further back you get, the shorter it gets. But what we have to do is we have to make a determination on the facts and only the facts. And I just want to make that comment because I really have appreciated everything that you said, and you guys are very blessed and grateful for your journey. And I'm grateful that it's going to be a family and the horses are going to get back in, and Rio Grande Avenue is going to have another historical place that people go by and see it. But from our position that we have to kind of make a decision on, we just want to let you know that we have to look at it as judicial. And as she defined, I think, the reason for the GB 98, I think she was trying to say, shouldn't you have already known? And these are the things that kind of are bothering me because I have a heavy heart like she is tonight. And I just want to make those comments because we have to run in what we have to on this side of the fence.
Yeah, Madam
Mr.
Chair,
Chapman.
just a point of order. Before there's discussion really
right.
of the merits of the application, there should be a motion on the floor, and I think that motion should be made after the applicant completes it, and if there's any opposition, you have that before you make a motion, before you start discussing the merits of the case.
So, Director Schultz, I've got a question for you. They've stated that they've moved the fence back 39 feet. My understanding is even if it's a replacement, that they should have come in for a a fence permit.
Madam Chair, good question. Yeah, the code definitely allows for things like repair and maintenance, but you can't substantially change the design or the materials. That's when you're talking about something brand new instead of repair and maintenance. Repair and maintenance would not have required a permit, but brand new does require a permit.
And certainly putting it in a different place would also trigger that, correct?
Madam Chair, from the department's perspective, yes, that's correct.
Yeah, we're not disputing that a permit is required, and that's why we're here, right? And we're not disputing that a variance is required and that the ordinance contemplates the ability to seek and gives the commission the authority to allow a variance. I do think I spoke to the factors that it's in conformance with the goals and policy of the village master plan. I think that overall, the gates as constructed do preserve the rural and agricultural character. Overall, taken as a whole, against it's more than 12 acres, that property is a substantial piece of land. That overall, it is a low profile element. It is not visually imposing, given the size of the property. And so I do think it's consistent with the development standards. What is a variance if you can never go above 8 feet, right? With respect to factor 2, that it is not contrary to the public interest in protecting and fostering the character of the vicinity and the village and does not cause material adverse impacts on adjacent property, neighborhood, or the community. Again, that's kind of the adverse of what we just said. So if it does conform with the goals and policies, then it's not, here there's no evidence that it's contrary to the public interest. Indeed, our neighbors and even the commissioners yourselves have expressed that you think it does foster the public interest and the overall look and feel and character and what it is that we're trying to protect along Rio Grande, and the reason that we all love this village so much and want to be here and raise our family here and have our grandkids come visit us here. And as far as the unnecessary hardship, I think again that a property owner's right to the use of their property in the manner in which is meaningful to them and which carries out their desires for the continued use of the property is a significant interest. and one that cannot just be, flatly disregarded by the commission. With that, and I think what you were asking, Mr. Chappell, is that we would then make a motion. Would that come from us, sir?
No, it
Okay,
does
all
not.
right.
It does not.
I misunderstood where you were headed with
Commissioner
that.
Haywood or Commissioner?
No, your presentation, the order should be, as a point of order, Madam Chair, is if there's anybody else that's going to speak on behalf of this, it's their turn. If there's anyone opposed, then they can come speak. And at some point, then the the commission itself has to make a motion to approve or disapprove, and that's when some of the discussion takes place.
I appreciate that, sir. Thank you.
Commissioner Tagliapetra.
I do have a quick question on the gate itself. Is it solid or is it open like your fence is?
It is open. It has bars.
Thank you.
Open bars, yeah.
Okay. Is there anyone here willing or wanting to speak in opposition to this application? Is there anyone here wanting to speak in support of this application? Okay. If you'll give your name and address.
My name is Chris Pacheco, 5905 El Prado Northwest. I don't think there's anybody in here that hasn't seen that gate. The fence and that gate are beautiful. Yeah, maybe they got things a little bit backwards, but the point is it looks good. And it would be, in my mind, a substantial financial hardship to back that up now. I mean, that's not a wooden gate. That's a steel gate. Those are steel pilasters. I know Mr. Cordova's a GB98. Maybe there's some things he can do with the ground level because I'm sure the code reads above ground level. He's already talking about raising ground level 6 inches. Maybe he raises it another 6 inches to get closer to what the code says. But on this one, I think I understand what you were saying, Commissioner Martinez, that this is quasi-judicial, but in this case, maybe we're making a bigger issue out of it than we need to. It's a beautiful gate. I can tell they put a lot of work into it. I'm also a contractor. I can tell you it was not inexpensive to do that. Sometimes you end up making a mistake in the sequencing of things, and I'm a contractor, I know that. But I think to make a decision against the gate at this point would be more harmful to the village than it would be helpful. That's just a citizen's point of view.
Thank you. Once again, give your name and address, please.
My name is Vincent Sanchez, 6802 Rio Grande. I actually am not opposed or I'm really indifferent on this because aesthetically it is pleasant, and aesthetics are also subjective. It doesn't matter if I particularly like it or not, or anybody else particularly likes it or not. The issue that I have is that they're asking for forgiveness instead of permission. And that has been a constant gripe of mine for quite a while up here. And this is basically the same thing, except in this particular instance, it has a positive and aesthetically pleasing look to the surrounding area. I had no idea that house was in such disrepair. It's unfortunate. I kind of liked how classic it looked, but it's not my property. They can do what they wish about it. Being in opposition to it because and only because it has a permission, asking for forgiveness and not permission, that is a standard that has been common. If you had done this a year ago, it would have passed. But in their defense and what they're saying, I'd like to point out something in the Village Voice, the current Village Voice. Maintenance and replacements, taking out old wall and rebuilding it in the exact same spot and height generally don't need a permit, but it is still worth confirming before you start. I know it doesn't necessarily say that they shouldn't have gone, but it kind of does, and it's kind of open to interpretation, subjective, just like the aesthetic the fence itself. So in my position, I have several fences that have been put up that block me without a permit. So the approval of this just makes that okay, and that's why I have an issue with it. Because I know if they were in my position, they would be in opposition to it too. Though I understand that it is a difficult position to put you guys in and for them to be in that they just want it to look good to what they think looks good. And I can appreciate that. So thank you.
In case you missed their comment, it was moved, the fence and the gates are moved back 39 feet from where they originally were.
I understand that. So, yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. We'll let the input close and we'll go to commissioners' discussion. Is there a motion?
Without further comment, I move that we deny VA 2505, subject to the findings of the director.
Okay. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, discussion?
Again, we put the cart in front of the horse, and I appreciate you educating us. Again, this is a process that we are on a journey to learn us also. But one of the things that we have to continue to discuss within ourselves is if we need to make a change to correct this kind of thing, we need to make it through the planning and zoning, and we need to make it through the proper channels. And one of my concerns is that I'll continue repeating what I expressed to her. As you drive down, there are unique gates that are beautiful, but way oversized. With that being said, and expressing to her that that's a process of people to take care of, not us. And I think that what we are here in front today, as you defined, it's a tough place for us to be. And there's so much value to where you guys are going through, because that is a large hardship that you guys are gonna have to, if it continues. But I just wanted to make the comment that the process has to start back over here to correct the things that are presenting to us. And I think that's the thing that I wanted to make. If we need to make some adjustments for Rio Grande Avenue, just no different than I've said, I think 4th Street has its own little set of rules and regulations because it is a heartbeat. I think Rio Grande Avenue needs to have its own set of rules and regulations because it is a heartbeat. But until that happens, we have to follow the rules and regulations of planning and zoning. And I just want to make that comment to us because it's up to us to make those changes. And that could be happening in the future, but as far as this vote, I just want to make my comment.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, seeing, Commissioner Teglia-Petra?
I actually feel it would be a huge financial hardship to cut the gate down, to resize the gate, to resize the pilaster, the whatever monument pillar you want to call it. I think it'd be a huge financial cost to the residents.
Madam Chair, if I might address that, there's a criteria in the code. This is 9225-7C that says the requested, 7C2, financial gain or loss shall never be the deciding factor in granting a variance unless the property owner would be deprived of all economically feasible use of the property. I just want to point out that the code does contemplate financial burden on an applicant, and that only comes into play if, absent the variance, they absolutely cannot use their property.
Thank you. Any questions regarding that? Okay. So we have a motion made by Commissioner Barrow and a second by Commissioner Haywood. This is a roll call vote.
Madam Chair, might I ask a question? In finding number 9, if the commission is to move forward with denial, I have proposed a date that compliance would be required. If this variance is denied, the applicants basically have 2 choices. They can choose to appeal this decision to the Board of Trustees to try to get your denial overturned, or they would have to come into compliance. I've proposed a date of February 16th for compliance, and I would appreciate a discussion amongst the commission. I tried to make sure that we could get through the holidays and not requiring construction work over that time. That's about 2 months from now, a little more than that. Does that seem reasonable to the commission?
I guess I'd field the question, you have more intimate knowledge about their load on their agendas than we do. Do you think it's feasible, if there's an appeal, that it would make an agenda by that date?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Haywood, that's a great question. Appeals have a 15-day deadline after the decision is issued, so we would know before the end of December if there is an appeal or not. And at which point, if there is an appeal, this decision is kind of considered tabled for the time until that appeal is dealt with. At such time, if the Board of Trustees chooses to deny the appeal, then these findings would stay in place. If they, of course, choose to approve the appeal, then these findings are irrelevant.
Any questions? No? Okay.
I do have a quick question on that. So you said February 16th?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Talia Pietra, yeah, Monday, February 16th is the date that I proposed in the findings.
So if they do file an appeal and it's not heard until the February BOT, then they have 3 days or 4 days to get it done? I mean,
Madam Chair, Commissioner Talia Pietra, if it's not heard until a February BOT meeting, that could be a complicated timeline for the applicant. We could consider,
I think I would like to see a number of days after an appeal was heard that they would have to do something if we're going to go that direction.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, so perhaps it reads something like, we leave the February 16th date in, that'll be there in case there is not an appeal, but we could add some or language, or 2 months after the date of a Board of Trustees appeal hearing, whichever occurs first, I think.
Mr. Chapel?
It doesn't like you.
Says I do, but I don't. An appeal of the commission's decision to the Board of Trustees stays any action on the decision of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I would expect whether the board allows the appeal or denies the appeal, the board at that time has the authority and would set the time for compliance with the order based on the findings of the Board of Trustees rather than this decision here. If there is no appeal, I think is the only time that deadline would technically apply.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay. Any more questions before we go to a vote? All right, this is a roll call vote. Commissioner Barrow?
Yes.
Okay, so your motion was to?
My motion was to, I'll restate it. My motion was to deny VA 2505, subject to the findings as demonstrated by the department. So my yay vote approves the denial.
Commissioner Martinez?
Yes.
Commissioner Tagliapietra?
No.
Commissioner Haywood?
Yes.
And Commissioner Homan, yes. So that concludes the hearing on V2505. You can get the Cordovas. Yeah, I'm sure you may want to talk later on with Director Schultz, so thank you. All right, our next item is SDP 2504, which is a request by Robert Goy and Don Nieto for sketch plan review for a site development plan for the property located at 8409 4th Street Northwest. Once again, this is a quasi-judicial matter. I believe we may need to have our two missing commissioners come
Madam
back.
Chair, Michelle is grabbing them from the conference room now, if we could give them just a moment.
Okay, brief recess. Yes. Let's hold a quick 3-minute break.
Okay.
You guys are fast.
My tea is out in the car.
Oh, well, there's 3 minutes, you can run out.
We said no.
I thought that you guys would have decided that in 5 minutes.
You'll get, she spent a lot of time presenting. And then, Robert made.
Okay.
Okay, let's go back on the record. All right, I'll give that introduction once again. The next hearing is SDP 2504, which is a request by Robert Goy and Don Nieto for a sketch plan review for a site development plan for the property located at 8409 4th Street Northwest, which is a quasi-judicial matter again. And this is a review. There isn't a vote associated with this, but there will be discussion. And of course, our planning and zoning director's report.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you. Agenda item 2 tonight is SDP 2504, a sketch plan review for a property located at 8409 4th Street Northwest. The applicants are proposing to expand an existing commercial structure on the property and introduce a new custom automotive parts installation and fabrication business. This property is zoned C1, where this type of light manufacturing use is permissive. The expansion of the building by more than 20% of the existing square footage triggers a full site development plan process. Even without that expansion, the proposed change of use would also require a site development plan. Tonight's review is just the first step in that process. As mentioned by the chair, no action is taken. The purpose is simply to give the applicant preliminary feedback on the conceptual site layout, circulation, landscaping, and overall alignment with the zoning code and village master plan. To summarize the proposal and the sketch plan, this is a long and narrow lot with an existing structure located on the southern edge of the property. The applicant is proposing a 2-story, 6,000 square foot addition along the eastern facade right adjacent to 4th Street. Parking is shown along the northern side of the building, which is considered the side yard, and along the rear of the property. Based on the estimated building square footage, which would be approximately 10,900 square feet after the addition, 10 parking spaces would be required. The sketch plan currently shows 24, so they have more than met the parking requirement thus far. The plan also appears to meet the prohibition on parking between the building and the sidewalk as required by the code. In terms of landscaping, the C1 zone district requires that 15% of the unbuilt area be landscaped. Staff estimates that to be about 2,775 square feet. The sketch plan shows about 2,900 square feet provided. The 5-foot landscape strip requirement along 4th Street has been met, with the sketch plan showing a landscape strip that's approximately 24 feet. Future submittals will need to identify plant selection, irrigation, tree counts, Approximately 6 trees will be required based on current calculations and any utility conflicts that might exist. That level of detail is not required at this stage, however. Building height is limited to 26 feet in this zone, and the sketch plan notes compliance with that. No elevations were included with this submittal, which is expected at the preliminary stage, along with glazing details to confirm that the 30% transparency requirement along the 4th Street facade is met. Lighting will also need to demonstrate compliance with the village's Dark Skies Act via a lighting plan, and as with all site plans that are associated with new construction, a grading and drainage plan will be required. Because this is a sketch plan, staff does not provide a recommendation to this board. The intent tonight is to offer feedback, identify areas needing clarification, and allow the applicant to refine the proposal before their preliminary site plan is submitted for consideration. In my staff report, I've got 4 bullet points of things that I note that need to be expanded on or detailed in future submittals. As mentioned, the landscape plan is one of them, the lighting plan, elevation drawings that get into the design of the building, and the grading and drainage plan. A 5th one that I'll mention that is not in my staff reports relates to circulation on the property. You can see in the site plan that there's kind of one way to get into the property, and there's some angled parking along the northern edge. The applicant should confirm that there is enough maneuvering space to get a 2-way traffic lane and have those parking spaces be there. The dimensions weren't totally annotated on this drawing, which is fine at this level, but that's just a note for the applicant to consider that as a part of their next step. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions of the director? Okay, seeing and hearing none. Okay, let's have the applicant go to the podium, give their name and address, and give us a brief explanation or their persuasive discussion.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. My name is Robert Goy, and I reside at 7100 Rio Grande Boulevard Northwest. 7200, sorry, we were talking 7100. I don't have a whole lot to express tonight, as it's kind of a sketch drawing, and we're looking for feedback and make sure that the ideas that we have moving forward fit the village vision. And I feel like we've put a plan together that will utilize the property very effectively, and we plan on introducing businesses to the front of the building that are more in keeping with not necessarily constructive in nature, but more pleasant, quiet type businesses that may be office or even things like a commercial kitchen or other things of that nature that are quiet and conducive to the neighborhood. We think that the property as it exists right now needs to have something put up in front of it because it's not the most attractive building in the village. And I think we can introduce a plan that will be very appealing from the road and from the perspective of the village and the community. So that's what we're up to, and we're looking forward to. I love the response we received. It identifies a lot of the things that we know we have to look at and make sure we refine before our application. And we're open to any suggestion and ideas and any questions about what we're doing. So,
Are there any questions of the applicant? Commissioner Haywood? Please get up to the mic.
that tree.
I know that tree's a little.
In line with Director Schultz's comment about the traffic flow, I know there's no scale on this drawing, but just from an eyeball perspective, it looks like anybody in front of the sliding gate has to reverse into the street to get out. Do you have any comments on the spacing of traffic flow in there?
I will tell you, we've looked at that, and we believe we have enough room for a turnaround at the back of the property. And I'm not sure that even the direction of the parking is going to be angled. It may end up being straight. Whatever is whatever we can, we want to be able to have as many parking spaces as possible, and whatever will work and allow for two-way traffic and ease of access is what we'll propose. But it's a very good point, and we'll be careful to make sure that we meet that need. So.
Okay. Commissioner Barrow?
This looks like a very well-planned, but my question is, have you been in touch with the residents on Don Diego?
That's the street to the
Right.
to the south, right? We have not.
No, not south, I think.
North should be.
North.
North,
No, it is south, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It is south.
yeah. No, we have not reached out to them.
Were you planning to?
At some point. I'm sure that we'll visit with our neighbors. We have met one of the neighbors, but we really haven't reached out to them with any kind of exact plan.
Okay.
It's usually to your advantage to reach out to those that could be impacted in some manner.
Yes.
That way you can, address their concerns up front instead of waiting until you've got the application here and they're standing up in opposition.
Yeah, no,
So
I agree completely. We just haven't done it
Okay.
at this point.
might put that on your to-do list.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I know this is not quite the intent of Commissioner Barrow's question, but property owners within 400 feet of this property did receive a letter that there is proposed development. So hopefully those folks are aware that something is going on. So if they're concerned or interested, they would have the ability to reach out to the applicant as well. Not the same as direct contact from the applicant to the neighbors, but they should not be totally in the dark at this point.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Tagliapecca?
I just have a quick question. Are you going to incorporate the existing building in with your new commercial space? Or the existing building is going to be separate? Or,
I'm not gonna, I can't be specific about that yet. I think that the building will be a separate building with a proper appropriate distance between the two. Because it's a completely different purpose, so.
thank you.
Other questions? Commissioner Edward?
Good evening.
Good evening.
So this is going to be subject to the 4th Street widening, and I don't see it in your drawing where it depicts that interface between what 4th Street may or may look like. I guess the question I have is does his landscaping and his setback there, what is the anticipated right-of-way that's going to be taken in order to rip up that landscaping he's going to be putting in?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Edward, I'm not sure, I don't have those details at this level of drawing. It's something that we would take a look at during a preliminary site plan process once we have stronger measurements associated with the request.
Okay, are you aware of that?
We are aware of it. One of the reasons that it looks like it's 24 feet back is that we assumed there was gonna be some destruction there and replacement, and we wanted to leave enough room for that in this sketch drawing. Obviously, the next step will have much more detail.
Okay. And if I can see this correctly, what are the heights of those current buildings?
The current building is 26 feet at its peak,
And the new building will be
26 feet.
26 feet? And
It will not be a peaked building. It will be a square building.
yeah. So being that it's going to be automotive, how are you going to police and control on your site aspects of it not turning into a junkyard? I know that sounds probably abrasive as a question, but that stuff happens.
Well, the particular business that will occupy the rear building is a business that's owned by someone that we know, and we don't operate like that. So that's about all I can say. I mean, it's just,
So will they be a tenant?
they'll be a tenant,
And
but it's
I-
a family member tenant.
Okay, so that'd be in their lease that they'd have to maintain the
course.
property.
Yes.
Because of the type of businesses that you guys were mentioning in here, what is the requirement for a clean air permit?
Well, we're not doing any kind of painting type work. There's no, that type of chemical is not in use. There's no requirement with standard automotive engine work, that sort of thing. It's really when you get into the body work that is my understanding. And that type of work is not going to take place there.
Okay. Will you guys be running vehicles with headers off?
Probably, there's one section of the building that's being soundproofed, and any of that type of engine work will be done in that particular bay. So there's no outside noise.
Okay.
Not in the parking lot, like, I mean, directly next to us is the same kind of shop, right on the other side to the north side. And there's a lot of that noise from that type of location. Our goal is to meet all the standards for noise abatement, and we don't see any problem with that. When we do, that type of work is not that common with what we're doing. It's not a typical automotive shop. It's a fabrication, custom type work, not engine repair and engine building. So it's a little bit different business.
Okay.
Is that fabricator there currently on what, Edith and Montano?
It's on Edith and Montano.
Yeah.
It's in
The northwest corner.
Yeah, yep, that's right.
And I guess, do you have an architectural style in mind? Because this is just your basic generic industrial metal-sided building. What do you do in your mind to make this evoke a village feel?
Well, that's the reason for the square instead of a peaked roof. We have we basically have hired a company and an architect is a part of that will design the building, and they'll design it in a way that it fits the village as we know it. I'm not sure yet exactly how it's going to look, but I think it'll look as nice or nicer than any building on 4th Street from the street. So I don't think there'll be a problem with appearance.
Okay. And then I guess the last question, this trash dumpster, is that going to be where you're going to deal with all your fluids, oils, transmission fluid?
Yeah.
How are you going to handle that?
No, that gets hauled away. That's put in containers if there's, again, we don't do things like oil changes. It's not that kind of shop, but there is oil and transmission disposal, that sort of thing on occasion. And that's all put in containers and taken to disposal.
Okay. And then my last question, any reason why there's not more trees in the front? You've got all your trees along the one property line?
We really haven't done the landscape plan. This is kind of a sketch, but we need, according to my understanding, is 6 to 9 trees, and we'll have trees up in front as well as in back.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else with questions? Comments, observations? All
Any
right.
ideas? Open to anything?
I think what I'd like to just follow up on him is because that's going to be a major change when the redevelopment on 4th Street occurs.
Yep.
And I think that's going to be the beauty behind matching and growing with them. And that's probably the only suggestion I can make is that's a beautiful development that's coming up. And for you to reflect on it would be a beautiful way of following with what they have to do and you have to do.
Yep. Appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing the next stage.
Yep, we do too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You got your stuff.
I guess, Mr. Chappell, should we, I probably should have asked for anybody wanting to speak. Sorry about that. You may have to be back up there. Is there
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think this is just an input for the commission to the applicant. It is not a public type input situation. So I think you have covered what is required under the procedure.
I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, let the record show that our review and comments back to the applicant on SDP 2504 is closed for this evening. The next one up, SDP 2505, a request by, and I can never say the name of that, Nijmegen Plaza, LLC, a review for preliminary site plan development for the property located at 6502 4th Street Northwest. Once again, a quasi-judicial matter. And Director Schultz, can you give us an overview?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The final item on tonight's agenda, SDP 2505, is a request for a preliminary site plan for a site at 6502 4th Street Northwest. This is a follow-up from a previously submitted sketch plan in October, where the applicant is now seeking preliminary approval for a proposed commercial development consisting of an office building with 4 tenant spaces. This property is located within the Village Center project area. As a reminder, the site development plan requires 3 stages: a sketch plan, a preliminary plan, and a final plan. Tonight, the commission will be considering whether the preliminary site development plan meets the zoning code requirements and whether or not it is ready to move forward. As an overview for the property, in terms of land use, the proposed combination of office and retail suites is consistent with the Village Center zone. The VC district is intended to support neighborhood scale commercial activity and community serving uses, and the applicant's program fits within that vision. The site layout places the buildings towards the interior of the site with shared parking located away from 4th Street. This helps reduce the visual prominence of parking and is compliant with parking standards in the VC zone district. The parking requirements themselves appear to be met. The code requires 2 spaces per 1,000 square feet of office or retail uses. Based on the square footage, 14.3 spaces are required. The plan provides 15. Staff notes that any other type of maybe food or liquor use requires a higher parking requirement. So this property would not be able to accommodate a restaurant, a bar, a tap room, et cetera, in the future, unless it could get a shared parking agreement with a nearby property owner. Landscaping standards on this plan are largely met or exceeded. The site requires approximately 1,800 square feet of landscape area, and the plan provides more than 5,000 square feet of landscape area. The tree quantity, size, and placement meets most code standards. You'll note that there's 1 tree that's not in compliance along Willow Road. The code says that trees must not be more than 30 feet apart from one another. I provided a snippet in my staff report that shows one of the trees is about 50 feet from another one, so that will need to be adjusted in the future. Stormwater detention is designed via the large pond on the southwest corner of the property, but the plan has not demonstrated that all landscaped areas incorporate stormwater catchment. That is what the code says. It says all landscaped areas. There are a couple of important items that do remain incomplete. The plan does not provide information on lighting, which must demonstrate compliance with the village's Dark Skies regulations. The grading and drainage plan has been reviewed by the village's on-call engineer and is determined to be deficient at this time. Corrections will be required. Staff received 1 public comment on this item. It's in the staff report. The 1 public commenter supports the request. Because of the outstanding issues identified in the staff report, particularly the grading and drainage report and requirements, the staff is recommending a 1-month deferral to this body's January hearing to allow the applicant time to remedy those items in their plan. Otherwise, staff will stand for questions. Thank you.
Okay, questions of the director?
Madam Chair, again, this is
yes.
an issue that is likely to be, Madam Chair, this is an issue that is likely to appear before the Board of Trustees, and as such, I would like to reserve my ability to participate and deliberate at that time. And I'm a member of the Board of Trustees, so I will recuse myself.
Likewise.
Okay, so once again, we will ask Commissioners Baldwin and Edward to step to another room, but please don't run off.
I was gonna say, but I
Okay,
want to come
please
back.
come back after we're done with this, all right? Thank you. Would the applicants like to approach and give your name, address, and once again, an overview?
Madam Chair, can I approach and just pass the sketch of the
Yes.
building out to you all?
Thank you.
And we see the tree,
Thank you.
the bad tree?
The bad tree.
Thank
Well,
you.
not a bad tree, just
Just a
didn't have a
bad location,
have a thread.
bad location. Needs to join his friends.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, Chris Pacheco, 5905 El Prado Northwest. My wife Sandra, same address for right now. You know, she might get mad at me tomorrow. The planning director did a really good job of pointing everything out. We have not seen the grading and drainage corrections yet. As soon as we see them, we'll address them. If you look at the grading and drainage plan, though, you'll see significant amount of underground plumbing to catch the drainage. So I really need to see them to address the comments and understand what your engineer's talking about, but we can address those. The lighting plan is my fault. That's a deficiency, and I didn't catch it until afterwards, but we understand the lighting requirements, and we'll make sure there's a lighting plan. Other than that, it's a 7,100 square foot building. We have 2 office tenants planned for right now. The other 2 are spec, which I don't think we'll have a problem filling. I want to point out on the drawing, we did everything we could to make it as aesthetically pleasing as possible. Right now, I don't have a sign plan because really, as a developer, I'm not too sure I want a sign on there. My tenants may think differently, so I may be back in here getting approval for a sign at some point in the future. But for right now, if you look at it, and what I like best is the isometric site view that you have on your plan. I really like the way this development's going to look. And I think it's going to strongly complement the village character. It's a low impact use, possible retail, but I doubt it'll be retail. I think it's going to be 100% office space. I can tell you at least 5,000 square feet of it right off the bat is going to be office space, maybe a little bit less, about 4,800 feet, and then the two other suites. I think they're a total of 2,400 square feet, and they could be some retail, but even if it's retail, it's going to be very light retail. We met the parking requirements. I think the one change you'll see is we moved away from a garbage dumpster, and we're going to require the tenants to contract with Waste Management for individual garbage containers that they'll have to put out on the road every week, or we'll do it as property managers. I haven't figured that out yet. And the reason for that, a couple reasons. One, we needed to make sure we met the parking requirement. The other one was Commissioner Edward talked about if he brings his truck in there, how's he going to park it? Mm-hmm. We're looking at doing that and trying to accommodate everything as much as we possibly could. The issue is we're still working on a half acre, actually a little bit less than a half acre, 0.49. So meeting every requirement, if we go to meet one requirement, it usually affects something else. So we've worked hard to meet every requirement. And I also know that Commissioner Baldwin would have liked a little bit of space in between the sidewalks with maybe some planters and stuff, but it's just right now, it's just too hard to meet every single requirement. So what we wanted to do was make sure we met all the statute requirements before anything else, and then look at that. So I stand for questions at this point.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner?
This is my third look at this plan. And Mr. Pacheco, I just want to say that it looks overall as if it's going to be a real addition. Look very nice, so I look forward to your meeting the specifics required.
Commissioner Martinez?
One of the things that is happening, and I think that you're finally and I appreciate what you said earlier, but you're visualizing that when you came in the last time, following the rules is a process, and following those rules gets to be a blessing in the process. And I think that's what we're appreciative from this side. It's just a positive comment. The only comment that I need a question about is trash. Is there going to be any effect? Because I think trash is going to be a really important factor, and I don't know how that's going to be looked at. Because once you get containers, where do the containers go? How do they look? So I guess that's my only question to both of you guys. And the last one, are you okay with the extension and the ability to work with them for another month?
Well, yeah, because I'm gonna have to look at the comments from the village engineer on the grading and drainage, and, I mean, that's not, we'll address them, I haven't seen them yet to address them. So yes, now, my tenants, I've got 2 tenants that are chomping at the bit, but I think they can wait another 30 days.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Martinez, the trash receptacles are depicted on the site plan still. They've just switched it from a dumpster to individual bins. The requirements of the code are that not be visible to 4th Street, and so from a zoning perspective, they have met that requirement.
Okay, that was my only question.
And then, just to reinforce that statement, this is anticipated to be strictly office use, and I can tell you, we have, right now in another building that we own on 4th Street, we have a small dumpster, and we have 17 tenants, and we don't ever fill that dumpster. So an office use, and, you know, what are those containers, like 70-gallon containers, I think? Well, they're big containers. Yeah, I don't anticipate any office using more than that on any given week.
And I guess just following up on that, because now that you brought it to, and I agree with you, what you're talking about is, but the other concept of recycling, does that help or have any effect on?
Well, we can make that enclosure large enough to have both a green and a black one. I hadn't anticipated that, but we can. It's just gonna be either our responsibility as property managers, the tenant's responsibility to make sure they bring their container out to the road every week to get emptied.
Yeah, and because everything's recyclable now, and office have so much paper, I just, reiterating that you guys have done so much and listening to what we have to say, there might be a smaller and easier one, because I agree with you. The amount of paper that's gonna go in there may not be as many as we think, but we need to do something with them.
And we can address that.
Okay.
I don't see that as being overly burdensome for us to address.
Okay, Commissioner Haywood?
I have a question about the irrigation. From a technical perspective, the irrigation notes say that you're going to run the irrigation system 15 minutes a day, but your trees are basically, based on the math, going to receive 1 gallon of water per day. They'll be dead by the end of the season.
Well, thank you. I actually wouldn't know how to address that, because I'm not an arborist, but I know that, and I actually don't know what type of trees we're using, but we can go back and address that and make sure that we put in low water consumption trees. Definitely not putting in any cottonwoods. We've got 2 in our yard right now. We're not putting in anything like that. But that's something I can address with a landscape architect.
I'd actually rather see the irrigation bumped up rather than xeric trees put in, because even xeric trees will suffer with 1 gallon of water a day in July.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I think this is looking wonderful. Just need to have you come back in with additional cures to the items that are missing.
So I understand irrigation, lighting plan, and we need to address the grading and drainage.
And there's one other thing. What was the other one?
Well, that was the recyclables.
Recycling bins.
Gotcha. All right. Is there a motion for postponement or till next month?
We need our words. Get back up to our words.
I move we defer SDP 2505, request by Nijmegen. Nijmegen. Thanks, Sandra. LLC for review, the preliminary site.
I second.
Okay, roll call vote. Commissioner Barrow?
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez?
Yes.
Commissioner Tagle Petra?
Yes.
Commissioner Haywood?
Yes.
And Commissioner Homan, yes. So we will see you
We will
again
see you at the next
month.
P and Z meeting.
Sounds great.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. So if we can get our other two back in here. Come on, come on. All right, let the record show that Commissioners Baldwin and Edward have rejoined us. So, I want to, congratulate Commissioners Baldwin and Edward on your victory, being voted into trustee position. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did in the years that I served. I know you'll do a fine job. You've really complimented the commission here and helped us progress and make some very difficult decisions. You're going to be put on the hot seat even more. So I wish you well in that new endeavor. I also want to thank Commissioner Barrow for her service to this commission. This is her last meeting here as well. So thank you so much for all of your advice, input, well, three of you, for all of that through all this time. You've served the village very, very well, and the village is better off for your service, and we thank you greatly all.
Thank you. I have some comments.
Okay. Commissioner Barrow.
I want to agree with Commissioner Homan, congratulating Commissioner Baldwin and Commissioner Edward. Both of you ran a very good campaigns, and I applaud your elevation to more work. I'd like to sit back a minute and thank all of my fellow commissioners. I have now, at the end of this meeting, I will have had 4.5 years, not quite 5, because I came in halfway. But during that 4.5 years, I've seen 4 directors, 1 interim director, 2 attorneys, 2 executive directors, 2 IT guys, 3 mayors, and 1 P&Z assistant, Michelle Austin. She often goes unremarked, and I want to applaud her excellent work and wonderful attention to detail. And to me, thank you. I've learned much about the village and the people and the structures of the village, so you haven't seen the end of me, but I'm just not going to be on this side of the podium. I'll be on that side. This year, I think our commission congealed very well. And we tackled some pretty tough projects, and I think we came out with the right answers across the board. But I have something that I think might improve this effective teamwork from the commission. And this is not something that we can do. It can come through our extremely talented planning and zoning director. But I'd like to recommend to the mayor that planning and zoning commissioners be appointed for 2-year terms, renewable. So it would be possibly a maximum of 4 years. The reason I think 2 years is that 1 year at a time just doesn't do it. And I'd like to recommend staggered terms so that at no point the whole commission is brand new or nearly new. I think it will add to a better team and a more effective review. So it's been my honor to work with all of you over 4.5 years, and you haven't seen the end of me. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody, and we look forward to a very productive 2026.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else?
Merry Christmas to everyone.
And Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you, Commissioner Barrow. And I just want to take a moment to thank everyone on this dais. This is a cohort I'm incredibly proud to be a part of. And that's not because we agreed all the time. Lord knows we didn't. But every conversation was thoughtful. Every conversation was heartfelt. And I think that you can have honorable disagreements. Not all disagreements are unhonorable. And I just really appreciate the collaboration and the congeniality. Even when we were not in agreement on policy, there was an underlying respect for each other's opinions and work. And that is an achievement that I think anyone who participates in any body like this can and should be proud of. So thank you.
Connie, you were great. You were prepared and I'm not. And Gwen, it's been good serving with you. Bob, Drew. And thank you very much, our leader. Thanks to the staff. Michelle's been fantastic, and I've seen her here longer than anybody else. And I think we need to see what is it that she's eating to evoke that longevity. I think that the planning and zoning would do well with some more longevity, and I hope you stick around. I also want people to know that this is a quietly, not so quiet, powerful board. It probably does as much or more to shape our community than the Board of Trustees. And it does it in a way with maybe not quite such a big hammer like the Board of Trustees does. And I would like some way to monitor, you know, how many people are actually watching, because when we don't have many people in the audience and having campaigned, I listen to the excitement in people's voices, but I also listen to their sadnesses. And some of those come from the things that we have done or not done on this board. And to that effect, if we can find a way to rabble people up, to have them come more often to these meetings, I think we'd get a much better result. Because back in the day when my mom used to go to these meetings, and it was over in the old schoolhouse building on Green Valley Road, if the same number of people came, it was a much larger and higher percentage of the overall village. And I just want this place to be more than just a name. I want it to be more of a place, and I think that that happens by creating environments like this that people want to come and run into their neighbors and talk. And I would just encourage the village to try and think about what they can do to make these meetings have some more vitality, if that helps get more people in the door, because our voices all matter. And I appreciate everybody's voice up here. And that's my impromptu speech for the night. Thank you very much.
So while we're talking, I do want to recognize Gil Benavides and George Radnovich. And although they're not here, I want to thank them for their service As these two members are soon to find out, being a trustee is a tough job, and you learn more about your community than you ever thought you would. Just the act of campaigning probably opened your eyes to many things you hadn't before. So heart goes out to them. It's a tough decision for the village itself. You had 4 great candidates. So I do want for the record to mention that we had no new business and no old business. And with that, is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Did you have something to say? Okay, no. So it's been moved for adjournment. Is there a second?
Second.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Let the record show we concluded at 7:37.
Well done, girl.
We're gonna miss you.
Yeah. You'll have to come and visit me on the third Tuesday.
Maybe, you know.
Terrible.
I wanted to give this one a hug.
Oh,
You're a good partner.
enjoy some time off.
I hope your daughter and all the wishes that, yes. Oh, I know, well, I'm going to Mexico City tomorrow morning to see.
Oh my gosh, you're in
Well,
stuff.
Thursday's
I like the picture.
Lady of Guadalupe. So my prayers.
Merry Christmas.
See, yeah.
I wonder.
Well, I took a couple of ones.
No, I didn't. You'll have to tell me what.